With it being Halloween time at the time of this video's release, I polled my viewers to choose one of 3 spooky topics to discuss for the occasion, and the anime idea got the majority, so in this video we're talking about anime.
Yay, anime!
The spooky anime.
Oh no, that's the kind of anime that I don't watch.
But an anime that's normally fun and whimsical.
That's the kind of anime that I do watch.
Except when that anime takes a dark tonal shift.
I don't like this game.
We're diving into when anime that doesn't fit in the horror or thriller genre takes an episode or 2 to go out of its element and use horror-style tone, imagery, or just a slightly more unnerving plotline than a typical episode. For the record, I'll specifically be looking at anime we've personally seen all or most of, since the sudden spooky episode hits harder when you watch a bunch of episodes with the usual fighting, comedy, slice of life, or whatever other genre, and bam, corpses. It's not as uncanny if you only watch the more terrifying episode and not the rest of the series when everyone is normal. Even though some of these anime are aimed towards younger audiences, I'll consider how spooky the episode was at the age when I saw it and was in the target demographic. So let's hunt down the top 10 spooky episodes of non-horror anime.
Number 10, Hoshiro Girl Job.
No, number 10 is the very different Pop Team Epic, episode 11. I still kinda doubt our choice. Pop Team Epic is an absurdist comedy that usually has one long 5-minute skit followed by a bunch of shorts to fill 11 minutes. Then the 11 minutes repeat with new voices and alterations to some of the jokes. Each big skit usually has Papako and Peep-a-Me and parodies of other genres, and episode 11 was the horror movie plot. It legitimately made me feel uncomfortable the first time around since it was pretty much played straight. 4 friends are hanging out in a cabin on a snowed-in night, but the guy in the yellow sweater is treated as an outcast, can't even get in on their toast.
Ooh, sodas! Oh no, they're beers. Oh, I'm naive.
I'll give him credit that he takes it in stride at first, though he eventually is taunted to a point where he goes insane and murders the ladies' man of the group and gets into a standoff with the woman in pink where no one wins.
Oh, I was really rooting for him. Weren't you before he went crazy? I'm like, aw, I hope he... I was about to say I hope he gets laid. That's not what I meant. I hope he gets a girlfriend.
Now he just completely loses our sympathy.
Yes, don't murder someone with an axe in an abandoned house in the middle of a forest.
But it's snowing. The murder scenes aren't quite graphic, but there's enough blood to make you say, oh damn, unless that's just family-friendly ketchup.
Really? Milky ketchup. Watery ketchup? Watery ketchup.
The sense of isolation in this cabin and the fact that Papako and Peep-a-Me are not involved in the plot as they normally would be makes this feel like a mini thriller. Their only role is to very briefly parody movie monsters that flash on the screen for a second, and those scenes are pretty funny. They also indirectly commit homicide by scaring a woman trying to escape, causing her to drive off a cliff backwards. The episode even ends on a somewhat creepy note when it zooms in on the bloody picture of everyone now donning the Pop Team Epic face. It really only looks normal on Papako and Peep-a-Me. Despite all that, it's only number 10 because it's still a parody at its heart, and the spooky factor is completely removed in the second half when the episode is replayed with a live-action guy wearing a false mustache reacting to the episode. It was a good joke on how someone would react when trying to figure out how a horror movie is gonna turn out.
Then it should have been number 1. Would have been my number 1.
Why would it get a high ranking when it was less spooky and more comedy?
I don't like spooky. I just want to watch Pop Team Epic.
Truly, we found the scariest thing to start the video with. Number 9, Yu Yu Hakusho episode 84. Yu Yu Hakusho has its fair share of creepy imagery, so I feel a number of episodes would have fit for this list. What made me choose this episode is that it features the show's creepiest character during what I think is the darkest arc. To very briefly summarize the Chapter Black arc, it involves a videotape that contains thousands of hours of the atrocities committed by humans that can drive one mad. This episode also involves a fight with Elder Toguro, who's an unsettling character. He just loves torment and sounds like a creep and can manipulate his body in many unappetizing ways. That's enough series background. This episode has the most unique, disturbing elements I've seen from the series in a mere 22 minutes. First off, it involves Gourmet, a guy who steals the powers of others by eating them alive. When it's revealed Gourmet can read minds, we flash back to him killing the psychic ally of the protagonists by eating him slowly as he screams in horror.
That's messed up, yo.
Then in his fight with Kurama, his head gets cut off in the middle of the mouth by a rose whip, which is pretty gross.
He's gonna need some real dental work after this. this. Shh.
Yes, that indeed was a joke.
Aww. Was it even a good joke?
How would you rank it?
It was acceptable, on the mediocre side.
We have fun here. This reveals that Elder Toguro has been taking over Gourmet's body after he consumed Togoro's deformed living head as he rises from Gourmet's throat. The scenes of Toguro taking over Gourmet's body are excellently disturbing. The end of the fight where Kurama hooks Toguro up to the sinning tree is disturbing in concept, where it makes you relive your nightmares until it drains your life. But since Toguro can regenerate his body, he's stuck there forever. Have a nice eternity.
This show was dark.
Number 8. Pokemon episodes 22 and 24. The episodes with Sabrina stood out from the other first season episodes. She seemed like a psychopath. All the other gym leaders felt like normal humans up to this point, even the jerks. Sabrina felt like she'd kill you if you disappointed her. I don't know how she got to be a certified gym leader doing that. She never showed emotion. She felt soulless.
Oh, but look at her laughing with her haunter.
That's the end of the episode. We don't talk about the resolution yet.
I like that part. That's a good part of the episode.
Sabrina carried around this living doll that represented her younger half, and that thing was playing creepy. There's a point where she shows her eyes, and it makes me happy that they're usually in shadow. We take a break to get a ghost Pokemon after the first episode, which is significantly more comforting of an episode despite it being about ghosts.
Those are so cute. Oh, look, they're sitting on a cushion.
And now, in episode 24, it's time for the rematch with Haunter's help, but then he bails and Sabrina gets rabid. What always creeped me out as a kid was she reacted by turning Misty and Brock into dolls because Ash simply challenged her to a gym battle and backed out. Brings new meaning to there's no running from a trainer battle. Back in my day, we just blacked out. Then she puts them in a dollhouse and her mother is there who's also a doll. She's kinda chill about it, like, hey, I'm Sabrina's mom, welcome to eternity. How long has she been there? Does she age?
Her mom doesn't look like her.
That's because she's a doll.
Where's her dad?
Over there, telling Ash about Sabrina's tragic past that molded her into who she is today.
He looks more like her. Did she have a hard childhood? Was she picked on in school?
Okay, maybe not tragic, but it explains things.
Look at her bending spoons!
Her psychic powers became unwieldy and she had to be locked away or something like that.
Oh my god, it's frozen all over again. It is! She's Elsa.
Overall, these episodes had nice uncanny elements for kid-level horror and were really weird ways to creepify the regular video game Sabrina that was psychic but still a normal person.
I like her original outfit more than her new outfit.
Well, that one's after a time skip. Things change after 3 years.
She's older, so I guess she needs new clothes. She can get new clothes if she really wants to.
Number 7, Love Tyrant Episode 5 and a bit of Episode 4. Hey, I spoke about this anime on that list I forgot I made. Basically, in this anime, Guri is Cupid and can put as many people into a single relationship as she wants with her smartphone or kiss note. Main character gets in a harem with Guri and various other dare types of girls, and anyone who's in a relationship with Guri is immortal. Up to speed? Hopefully. Episode 4 introduces us to Shikami, a cousin of the other 2 girls in the harem who gets a sexual thrill out of causing pain and wants to join the harem for that immortality so she can torture all she wants. Of course, not being in the harem doesn't stop her. Shikami's reveal has some nice creepy build-up, leading main character Seiji into an abandoned warehouse and trapping him in some sort of pink goo that she can control. Then she starts the torment as he is unable to defend himself. This continues into episode 5 where she traps the other characters in the same goo and is just a straight up creep. She's like a spider playing with her prey. What makes the scene somewhat terrifying is the music and how incapable the other characters feel when they are trapped. The feeling of being unable to react is a key element of horror. Once Shikami exits the episode, it becomes a lot more lighthearted, so it's not going to get that high of a ranking, but god, every minute the characters were in her trap, it was just unsettling. Number 6, Yu-Gi-Oh! Episode 79. This is a filler episode that's perfect for Halloween, where Yami Bakura duels Bones the zombie deck guy in a cemetery.
I love Bakura. Does he use Change of Heart in this duel?
Nope.
Did he use Lady of Fate?
That's a Season 1 deck. He uses an occult deck this season.
Where did he put the fun deck?
His occult deck is the fun deck.
He should switch.
Bakura uses this deck of creepy monsters that arise in eerie manners, bolstered by how dark the setting is. He uses monsters like the Headless Knight,
I think his head's just tucked into his collar.
or the Earl of Demise with his creepy decaying face.
Maybe he just needs more calcium.
Stop making this episode less scary. Wait until he pulls out Dark Necrofear in the other episode in which he uses this deck.
Oh, it's the lady from Guardians of the Galaxy, Nebula.
She's not.
Damn it.
She has a creepy laughing doll.
Oh, look, she's putting it back together. She loves it just the way it is. Isn't that lovely?
The episode ends with Bakura having these civilians dragged into the depths of hell by these spirits.
Well, it's not like he was going to heaven.
But this is hell for some normal humans unrelated to the most evil villains. They don't even get a chance to come back. It's a pretty terrifying scene when not censored by 4Kids. The legitimate hell!
Maybe the ground just caved in. You know what? They're scared of the dark. They can't come out. It's bedtime.
He clearly says he's sending them to hell.
Maybe that's just a saying.
No, he's pretty clear in the Japanese version. Even the 4Kids version added maniacal laughter as they're dragged down.
He might just be really nervous, and that's his nervous tick. Some people laugh when they're nervous.
Okay, we're done here. It's a spooky episode, trust me, not her. Number 5, Sailor Moon Crystal, episode 37. Before I started picking episodes of anything for this list, I knew I wanted a Sailor Moon entry since there are so many creepy monsters despite the age demographic. My default monster of the day episode is the creepy doll robot woman from episode 11 with the pupilless eye transformation. Then there was also the creepy doll monster from episode 18, since living dolls always have a high creep factor. My friend AT from Software Agents TV suggested episode 153 with the creepy dentist, and my co-host thought of episode 7 with the creature that attacks you in the shower with goo and steals your appearance. But since we waffled between all these random Monster of the Day episodes, I decided to scrap those ideas and go for a more significant main villain episode in the second anime series, Sailor Moon Crystal. With less filler monsters and a more direct focus on the main villain each season, we got to see their more disturbing sides more often. I'm ultimately going with episode 37 since that's when Mistress 9 kept making her psychotic facial expressions and the whole world was surrounded in death, so it had the right spooky atmosphere. Mistress 9 took over Hotaru's body, and every time you think Hotaru is going to get the upper hand, Mistress 9 just swats her away, growing spikes and even clawing at her borrowed body so Hotaru can't fight back. If they wanted to use more gore, it would be pretty gruesome. Just the imagery feels unsettling. Part of it is when she sheds Hotaru's body and turns into this purple demon thing, but other parts of the spookiness are just her distorted smug faces, which could also be goofy if you stare at them too long.
Oh wait, I want that picture. No, I need that one!
And shoutouts to the previous episode when we learned how Hotaru's dad, Dr. Tomoe, became consumed by the darkness, then using his daughter as a vessel for the villain and experimenting on her, along with distorting his face creepily too.
That's rad!
You know, Dr. Tomoe has the vibes of a classic horror movie mad scientist, so even if you don't find him creepy here, you gotta respect how he fits with the horror genre. Number 4, Dragon Ball Z episode 141, the first appearance of Imperfect Cell. Villain reveals in the Dragon Ball franchise are generally dramatic, but Cell's was definitely the creepiest. In the episode prior to his reveal, we find a gross exoskeleton, implying there's a monster running around. Then in this episode, we see TV reports where the camera crew is suddenly getting killed off, and we hear people screaming in the distance as that slowly gets silenced. And leading up to Cell's reveal, many cues from horror monster movies are taken, like not showing the monster, just the results, and having its shadow slowly appear on screen. Then there's the use of silence as a factor. When no music plays, you just hear the wind or the echoing drops of water as this once populated town is completely abandoned with just the clothes of the victims. Then when Cell slowly walks on screen, he doesn't talk or make noise right away. You just have to take in this silent, creepy bug creature and put things together. This leads into the next episode when we see Cell absorb a man from the inside out and see his skin dilapidate. It goes from implied horror to straight up unsettling. Even though we don't know anything about Cell at this point, seeing someone killed in such a weird and clean manner makes him feel like a force to be reckoned with. Piccolo's face during all of this reflects the reaction of the audience. While Perfect Cell is fun, I love the uncanniness and overall design of Imperfect Cell, making me wish I could have experienced this reveal without knowing anything about Cell prior to my first viewing. Number 3, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood Episode 4.
No!
You really just have to say that episode when talking about anything Full Metal Alchemist related, and people generally know what you're talking about with how infamously disturbing this one scene is.
Why do you do this to me?
This father we meet reveals that he fused together his toddler daughter and dog into one being to keep his alchemy license.
No, why would you do that? Why would you do that to a dog? Why would you do that to a child? Why would you do that to a dog and a child? Where's Father of the Year award? No, he doesn't deserve an award.
To give context, this episode is a horror movie in 22 minutes. We're set up with all the info we need in the first half. Ed and Al meet the guy who's gonna go insane, we form a bond with his dog and daughter so we can get emotionally attached to them. The seeds are then planted for something to be off, like Mr. Tucker saying his wife left him 2 years ago with little context, or him stressing about how he's gonna lose his alchemy license if he can't create something good in the next few days. Even the lighting in the room when he's talking about his struggles or the shine on his glasses add to the ominous feel. As the episode goes on, it feels like his house gets dimmer. Then the last 5 minutes are brutal. Ed and Al are looking through the house and no one responds. Then you find Mr. Tucker in his basement, maniacally happy about creating another chimera. Then you piece together that this creature is his daughter and dog as one. It's ultimately confirmed when the chimera struggles to say Edward.
No! And that's when your heart just breaks in two.
And that's what makes the horror of this episode. Just the reveal puts a pit in your stomach, and that he confirms that he did this to his wife too, which is why she's not around.
It's not even that it's spooky, it's horrifying and should be banned everywhere. Just don't.
Don't you think banning the episode is too extreme of a reaction?
The episode shouldn't be banned. He should be banned. I ban you. Bad dad. Bad.
Number 2, Inuyasha Episode 11. This is the episode with the no mask, or as I like to call it, no get that thing away from me mask. This episode is also when Inuyasha creator Rumiko Takahashi reminded us, I wrote Mermaid Saga, you fools. This episode is gruesome.
By the way, the show isn't for kids. Sota should have stayed in bed.
The villain here is a killer no mask that comes to life thanks to the jewel shard in it, and it attaches itself to civilians, liquefying them into an unspecified goo. With each kill, there's that moment when you see the victims react in a horrifying second. The mask then forms a body of decaying people as it tries to find the rest of the jewel shards.
Basically, think of No Face from Spirited Away.
It hijacks a fire truck, kills a bunch more people, and has a standoff with Kagome, who braves through this pretty well. In the manga, this beast is even more horrifying, as the body parts that make up the temporary body of the no mask don't turn into family-friendly goo, it's just people's body parts. Much more unsettling.
That's the pretty one from the manga! That's the one that I have! She's so pretty in the manga.
Editor's note, she said that line for a different character, but I thought it would be funny to place it here. Anyway, the mask also has other tricks that are just as creepy as its body made of bodies.
Oh, remember when the teeth come out of the mask? I want the shards!
What also made this episode stand out as spookier than other episodes with a massive body count is that it happened in the modern era. The modern era is when all the slice of life funny episodes take place with no serious conflicts.
It's not a day at the cultural festival, that's for sure. Oh look, Kagome's generic friends.
Usually, we see this carnage in a regular feudal era episode and we're unfazed by the massacres, but something just feels worse when it's modern day bystanders rather than nameless feudal villages. You know this episode isn't playing around when Kagome's grandpa is almost killed by the mask and he's usually the fun comic relief.
Your rheumatism!
And the episode ends with Inuyasha defeating the no mask, but no one in town questions the aftermath of a pile of black goo killing a bunch of folks.
It's not like they had an incident report report on the television saying, this mask suddenly just started eating people. They're just like, oh, a lot of people just died tonight. We're not curious as to why.
It's just Sota being all, wow, Inuyasha saved the day, and school isn't cancelled. And I can continue on why this mask is creepy. Its voice, the face that gave me fear of real no masks, and the fact that the next episode is another dark modern day episode that doesn't give you time to breathe, involving a ghost girl trying to kill her little brother and possibly getting dragged into hell.
Oh no, that's the second scariest episode, and the episode that will most likely make you cry.
Today's honorable mentions are brought to you by the viewer suggestions. Big O, Episode 6. Big O fights a ghost, but since we're scientifically advanced, it's a hologram. The My Hero Academia OVA with the zombies. Good creepy imagery, and I like that the character that uses the zombie virus is named Romero. The beach episode of Holic. It's part creepy and part standard anime beach episode. Lupin the Third Part 2, Episode 34. Lupin becomes a vampire? That sounds like a good spoiler-free plot synopsis. And Ranma 1/2, Episode 34, which involves a ghost hunting mystery. While it has the right tone and setup for spooky, if I had to choose just one Ranma episode, I'd probably go with the episode where female Ranma gets separated from male Ranma but turns out to be a vengeful spirit that tries to suck the life out of Ranma. All these anime still kept in the spirit of their normal tone, so it was hard to find one that felt like a pure horror with no familiarity, including number 1. That being said, I just went with my instinct for this one. Number 1, Cowboy Bebop, Episode 20, Perot Le Fou. Some of you may have thought I'd go with the episode Toys in the Attic, since it's like an alien thriller where each crew member is picked off one by a blob-like creature, leading to an isolated final confrontation. I completely understand why that would be the series' standout horror episode for some people, but Perot Le Fou always felt creepier to me because of the antagonist. He lacks any sort of cognitive functionality, killing for fun and being indestructible. His laugh is so haunting as he takes enjoyment from cold-blooded killing. What makes this feel like a horror episode is Spike just runs into the killer, named Mad Perot, in a dreary alley when he's killing a bunch of other dudes. The thunder and lightning makes his manic smile even more sinister and uncanny. The lack of color makes the confrontation with him feel even more dire. His bloodshot eyes make him feel inhuman, and the sheer unpreparedness of the always ready Spike makes it feel like you can't escape from the horror, especially when it seems that he has no weakness to lethal weapons. All these factors make me forget how silly his balloon body looks. Then we learn his backstory of how he was a human experimented on that was going to be locked away, but he turned psychotic, escaped, and now kills for fun because that's all he knows how to do, and he has the whimsical nature of a child while doing it. A story that's horrifying in its own right. The final confrontation in the abandoned amusement park has its own sense of uncanniness, hearing this circus music and seeing all those animatronics as this madman tries to kill you, all with the right amount of shading to make you feel uncomfortable. Even the way he sounds when Spike neutralizes him is creepy, but I won't spoil that for you. Overall, this episode gets my top spot for the peril, shading, and Mad Perot's pretty face.
No, he has a demon face.
A pretty demon face.
No, Inuyasha and Sesshomaru have pretty demon faces. Well, no, just Sesshomaru. No, he has a gorgeous demon face.
So, now that we've reached the end of the list, what did you think? We know there are a lot of anime out there, so we likely missed some of your favorite horror-themed episodes. Let us know in the comments. Anyway, thank you all for watching, happy Halloween, and we will see you in the next video.